All right. You are live.
And
Wow. Well, I think we finally got it.
Yep.
All right. All right. Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the first edition of All the Reps and Beyond. With me is my friend and brother, Dr. Pittman Kennedy. Kennedy, what's up, man? What's going on, brother?
What's going on, my man? It's a great opportunity. I'm excited to be over here to talk with you, man, to talk basketball and so much more.
Yes, yes. And hey, my dear people, before I introduce the podcast, the program, whatever you want to call it, let me just apologize for coming on late. We had some technical issues. We started like about an hour early, right, Pittman? We figured everything out, about to go live, and then the system crashed. So
Mr.
we
Murphy.
yeah.
Mr. Murphy.
So learning process right there. So we had to go back and do the whole thing all over. So that took us another 15, 20 minutes. But we're glad to be here. Again, like I said, welcome to the maiden edition of All the Reps and Beyond. Now, I know a lot of people asking why the name All the Reps and Beyond. You know, I got that from a lot of people. So here's the deal. All the reps. Now, I believe in repetition. I believe that if you want to perfect something, if you want to get really good at something, you have to do it over and over and over and over and over again. Now, there's a rule. I don't know whether you guys heard about this rule, but it's called the 10,000 rule, the 10,000 hours rule, Pittman.
Absolutely.
Yeah, the 10,000 hours rule is to become an expert in anything, you have to invest at least a minimum of 10,000 hours. Not minimum, but by the time you get to 10,000 hours, it means that you know almost everything about that subject matter. So that's where the idea came from, all the reps. And beyond simply means if you want to get to that legend status, you have to go above and beyond. You have to do more than what the other folks are doing. So, for example, if you want to be a journalist and everybody's going to journalism school, or everybody maybe reading journalism books, maybe you can go above by maybe following one of the best journalists in the field, reading about that person, understanding what it took for that person to get to that next level. You know, and that's something that I always tell my kids, right? You can't be average. You know, average is just going to get you so far. You have to go above and beyond in everything that you do. So that's where the idea of all the reps and beyond came from, you know, for you folks who don't know. So now that we've gotten that out of the way, I'm going to try to introduce myself. And then, Pittman, I'm going to turn it over to you for you to do a little bit of introduction. And we're just going to dive into today's topic and talk about, yeah, we're going to dive head, shoulder, knees, and everything into today's topic. So by way of introduction, my name is Newmany Walker, and I'm a native of Liberia, born and raised in Grand Bassa County. Uh, I went to school there, went to St. Peter Clever's high school, started there from kindergarten all the way through, you know, high school, left because of the civil unrest in our country. Uh, Ended my high school journey at the AME Zion Academy. Later on, went to the University of Liberia. Left the left Liberia, came to the United States, went to North Greenville University. That's where I furthered my education. And beyond that, you know, there's some other, you know, certificate programs, training programs. I'm not going to go all the way into that, but today, here I am. My passion, my ultimate passion, is basketball. You know, I play basketball on the weekends. I watch basketball during the week. Um, I do a lot of things basketball related. I coach sometimes when I have the time. And leaving Liberia, I always felt like um, our basketball is not at an appreciable level. And for folks who are interested in getting our program to the next level, I think it's important that we all come together, like minds, think about ways, share perspectives, ideas that we can use to get Liberian basketball to that next level. And that's when I ran into my good friend, Pittman Kennedy. Pittman and I go way back, and I'm not going to waste my time explaining to you how we met. But Pittman, with that, I'm going to turn it over to you. You can go ahead and tell the folks about yourself, and then we can get the ball rolling. All right?
Absolutely, man. It's a great pleasure being here with you on this platform. Again, to your point, the name says it all the reps. Again, as a basketball coach, as a trainer, as a military man, it comes down to reps, 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 reps. Yes, and to your point though, beyond, the way I interpret it is excellence is never ending. So beyond is infinity. You know what I mean? So you get the reps here, you just keep going. So this is a great appropriate name for the platform. I love it, and kudos to you for being so innovative in constructing that. Again, one of the things with us coming out of Liberia, I didn't cross paths with you directly back then. I left in about 89 for the war to Sierra Leone. It's refugee out of I started with Cathedral and then Wells Heston High School, and just before graduation, flee to Sierra Leone, and I came to the States. Then again, like yourself, basketball is my passion. Love it. Once I came to the States, joined the Air Force. I played for the Air Force team at Alfred Air Force Base, Nebraska. 3 years for the base team, and we played with some community colleges. That's what our competition were. And then after that, I went into coaching my organization and moved to Maryland, played there a little bit, and then for the base as well. And then went into coaching, and I just remained coaching. So when I went to Ohio, I started coaching the base team, and that was a big deal because we were played against Division III colleges and community colleges, and we'll get into talking those experiences later. But go full circle, went into the AAU, went into the middle school, high school assistant coach, and became a trainer. Started with my own son, and then I've been doing basketball training for almost 20 years now. I went under the tutelage of John Lucas, a renowned basketball guru, one of the smartest men in basketball, still now in the front office with the Houston Rockets, and he taught me so much about basketball. I mean, I think he forgot more than I ever learned. But he connected me with the NBA. I worked with the Players Association, the Boys Top 100, did that for 3 years. Connected me with USA Basketball, Youth Development, did some work with the 3-on-3 coach over there. So I learned a lot. But we do all of that, and we take different pathways just to get back to filtering in and enhancing the quality of basketball where we come from. Because that's all we can do right now, go and give back to the young people and help improve the game that we all love so much. And, I've been tracking you. You have done commendable, in my opinion, or else I won't be sitting on this platform with you. I respect you, your body of work. I told you that in private. I'm going to tell you that in public. You're a very smart man. You're one of the young Liberian men that came over here and did yourself and the country proud. So, they say when you open your mouth, you tell the world who you are. So every time you open your mouth, I listen. Whether I respond or not, I do listen to what you say, what you read. And they always almost make sense all the time. So thank you for your body of work, and thank you for collaborating in this space to see what we can do to make basketball better.
Well, thank you, my brother. Well, everything that you said, the feeling is very mutual. I have mutual feelings for you. I followed you. I follow your journey for quite a bit. I have a lot of respect for the things that you do, my brother. So, so now that we've said that, my brother, let's jump into the crux of the matter, Liberian basketball. And by the way, folks, we're going to make this show a little bit informal, meaning, we're going to be jumping from here to there, but at the end of the day, we're going to try our best to make it interesting, make it interesting for you. At some point, we'll make it a little bit interactive where people can call in, share their opinions, their views. Maybe on Facebook. I'm sure now that we're streaming on Facebook, people can go in there and make comments.
Absolutely.
We'll go back later on, read the comments, and maybe respond. We will share some other links like email addresses, and just some other information that you can reach out if you want, if you have an idea you want to share, or if you want to come on the podcast and sit down and speak with us. So Pittman, let's jump into the whole deal here. Before, when I contacted you, I said, "Well, my brother, let's talk about Liberian basketball." I went back and I decided to. I know I've always read about the history of Liberian basketball, when it started, who was involved, but for some reason, folks, there's always gaps in our basketball history. So, for example, like basketball was introduced in Liberia in the 50s, 1950, by American missionaries, folks who came and taught in our schools, American folks who were involved with the Peace Corps. So those were the folks who were involved with basketball. But if you look at our basketball history, if you go back and read about it, I mean, there's nothing out there, Pittman, which was kind of scary, right? So even if we want to develop our system right now, I strongly believe that in order to get somewhere, you must first know where you're coming from, right? So let's talk about the past a little bit. Let's talk about how the game started, the pros and cons. So what I did was I went back and I tried to look up information from 1950 till 1990, because to me, that was when our basketball came from ground zero to the height. By 1990, we were at, I would say, the height of basketball in West Africa. I wouldn't say Africa, but I would say West Africa. So I want us to take a look at that period, talk about it a little bit, and then we can jump into where present day Liberian basketball is. And then with your vast knowledge and experience, we can look to the future and see. And one thing I must point out, my brother, I was thinking, you know what, this is not going to be like a one weekend thing, right? We probably need maybe 2, 3, 4 weekends to kind of really open this thing. It's like a package. When you're trying to get to your present, you got to tear everything apart and dig in and get to it. So we're gonna do that. So like I said, my brother, let's talk about the past. What do you know about the past or the history of Liberian basketball from that time period, from 1950 to 1990? Let's start with the 50s, and then we can go to the 60s or whatever you want to share, my brother.
Kudos to you for taking it that far back. See, the journey of basketball, to me, it seems like it's a moving train, and when you get on where you get on. That's your span and that's your area. So now the unique guys, the historians of the game, guys like yourself, and what we all should do is to take a deeper dive to find out the origin of basketball and how it started with Liberia. And kudos to you for taking that step in researching back to the 50s. My knowledge, it does not go that far back. So you're gonna have to bring me from the 50s to the era that I'm familiar with.
Okay, all right. Let's do this. Yeah, time for putting you on the spot there.
No, we good. This is why we're here, right? This is why we're here.
We're gonna learn together, and hopefully for the folks who are watching, this will probably be a history lesson. So let me read this real quick.
Yes.
Then maybe after I've read it, then we can dive into it, right?
Yeah.
So it says basketball was introduced in Liberia in the late 1950s, primarily through American influence. So U.S. missionaries, Peace Corps volunteers, and U.S. educators who worked in Liberian schools. So the early 50s, basketball was introduced in Monrovia and other urban centers through American-run schools like the College of West Africa and Rick's Institute. And that might sound familiar, right? Rick's Institute.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. So American teachers and missionaries use basketball as part of physical education programs. Now, through the 60s and the 70s, the sport spread through schools, churches, and especially the YMCA. So the Monrovia YMCA, which became a basketball hub. Now, U.S. Peace Corps volunteers played a key role in organizing youth leagues and coaching clinics. Now, in 1974, do you know what happened in 1974? So the Liberian Basketball Federation was founded in 1974. That when it was officially founded.
Wow.
Now, from the 1980s onward, basketball grew into one of Liberia's most popular sports with strong rivalries. In high school, it was AME Zion Academy, College of West Africa, the American, I think, consolidated school system,
Yeah.
the cooperative school system.
Yes.
St. Patrick's High School, and club teams like Mighty Barrow, Invincible 11, LPRC Oilers, and NPA Pythons. So that's just a brief history of basketball in Liberia from 1950 to 1990. So now, what I did was I tried to look at the pros and cons, right? So now the way I look at it, it was based off 6 key elements that define a successful basketball program. So those 6 elements are infrastructure, talent development, governance, competition, and international exposure. All right. Yeah. So the pros from 1950 to 1990, the introduction of basketball was structure.
Yeah.
All right. We had a structural system. So like I mentioned, we had Monrovia YMCA, we had the high school system, we had the Peace Corps volunteers who were serving as coaches, and teaching the game the right way. Now, early youth engagement. So schools in the YMCA Monrovia promoted youth leagues that created a culture of competition and passion for the game.
Yeah.
And then the formulation of the Liberian Basketball Federation in 1974, that provided a national organization where, you could put in regulations or coordinate the league, and then also have international representation.
Yeah.
And then the game started to spread in other places. So it left Monrovia and went into the suburbs, like Painesville, Gardnersville, other places. So those were some of the most important proactive and positive aspect of the game spreading or coming to life.
Yeah.
Time period. Now, as far as the weaknesses, they talked about limited infrastructure and facilities, weak funding and sponsorship, over reliance on external expertise. That one I kind of highlighted, just because even though we had the missionaries coming into Liberia to help, but I don't think there was transfer of knowledge. I don't think there was enough transfer of knowledge for the local folks on the ground to pick the ball up, no pun intended, and then carry on the whole aspect of training, training more coaches, training more players, and that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then, of course, it says here there were inconsistent youth development pathway, meaning there was no structural pipeline from school to club to national team. Talented players lack guardians and opportunities to advance. So I'm going to stop there, and then we can, like I said,
yeah. So before I chime in, let me just give a quick. I'm tracking some of the comments here. Gus Cooper, he said, "What's up, Uncle Walker? What's up, Gus?" Jay Jenkins is tracking. David Clark, governor. He called you the governor.
Yeah, the golf.
Friend and brother Henry Pedro Costa is watching. He said, "What's up?" So
Oh,
there's some
God.
people watching. And hey, thanks for watching, guys. We're talking basketball historically from the inception to where we at, and what future opportunities that we could leverage to move it forward. So thank you for watching. Stay tuned, and we'll watch your comments and see what your inputs and contributions are. So, hey, normally, very good historical perspective from where the 50s and how it evolved. And yeah, rightfully so. I remember coming up as a young man, you spoke about the different area leagues. I know Bonneville Estate and the different estates had their local leagues to kind of enhance the competition of the game and the development of the game. And then YMCA had leagues as well. And then that was when I was a kid. And unfortunately for me, um, I was not, like I would say, like my parents, my dad didn't just let me go play basketball. Like it was a tall order to do that stuff.
Yeah,
You had to sneak out, get some time and come back home before he got back home. So it was not as open for me. So it was a challenge. Nevertheless, when you love something, you will find a way to get to it.
I
So
agree.
were able to not even participate in the YMCA leagues. My basketball journey started. I even went Cathedral in the JV. I didn't even play. It was not till I went to West Heston before I started to just. I think I was a little older, teenager then, and I leveraged my school time in addition with basketball practice times and things like that. But the history of the game from where it started to where it evolved to. I know you know the great Charles Wadsworth.
Yeah,
Uh,
I know Uncle Charles
and that's
very
a
well.
time for us to really bring in here. And I think him and my dad were classmates. I think he's like an uncle to me. So, and I didn't see him play, but what I've heard about him was like he was one of the best coming up from those days. And that evolved to the other guys like the great David Chair and those guys that came. And then. But who I saw was the Barrow dominance, and I was an IE guy, but the Barrow dominance with the Melvin Halls, who had come to the Dr. Melvin Hall, who I think, in my opinion, the smartest player ever across in Liberia. Those
The
guys.
great, the great Harder Shack.
Exactly. So I saw those Barrow guys, and that I was sneaking to sports commission in the last quarter of the game, and the celebration from the victories and that legacy, the Abu Williams, the Mitch Atoka, and the Hurricane guys, as you mentioned. So that's the level of competition I saw, and then saw some of the international games as well. And to your point earlier, there was a point where in West Africa we were a force to be reckoned with from Liberia, because everything that had precipitated that time, right? The development did not go to waste. Now because there was a culture, right? Remember the St. Patrick Olympics, the Ricks Olympics. There was a culture of competition and competition is what breeds excellence. So
Yep.
the competition with the schools of breeding development. And then we had the county meet that also added a layer of exposure for those kids, those young people that didn't have the opportunity to be centered around Monrovia. So you will see every year there will be a guy that would surface from Nimba or from Banga. Everybody like, who is this guy? He was somewhere in, Sino or something like that. So what that did was it created this environment. But to your point, yes, well, I would differ a little bit. I beg to differ in that transfer, that reliance on external knowledge. I wouldn't say, I don't know what happened there. Maybe our people were not just, taking advantage of the opportunity to say, hey, if you're an expert, then show me everything you know. I don't know what happened. There was a breakdown there somewhere to where the continuum was always relying on the external knowledge. So to your point, I will fast forward just to make a point right quick, and then I'll pass it over to you. Uh,
Okay.
recently I was speaking with one of the officials from the Liberia Basketball Association. Now it used to be federation when I played, but now it's an association. And
Yeah.
I told him, I said, Liberia, the development and the forward march of Liberian basketball must be done by Liberians.
I
And
agree.
here's what I mean by that. We are the ones that organically love our country. I'm not saying that you cannot have external forces, right? You can do that, but they're going to do it for they're going to do it based on what? Where you compensate me, and where your money stops is where the work stops, right?
Yeah.
But our hearts and our souls are organically embedded and integrated with the development of basketball. So there's no, what we'll do it for free, you know, and we'll do whatever we can to evolve the game, just like any other developmental area in Liberia. It has to be done by Liberians. This reliance on outsiders to come and do good for us. We have to get out of that mindset, because we are far and wide across the globe, and we are expert in all facets of professionalism, right? We got professionals in all areas. We just have to learn to collaborate and bring that knowledge back and be able to grow wherever it is. In our case, it's basketball. Over to you, brother.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Hey, I couldn't agree more. Look, no one will be able to build Liberia except Liberians themselves. And you know, just to go off track a little bit, and I've always preached this gospel amongst my friends and relatives, and I think it's something that I feel passionate about as well. I believe that in order for us to get to where we need to be, Pittman, whether it's basketball, whether it's whatever it is other than sports, you know, whether it's that national or development agenda that has to do with healthcare, farming, whatever it is, in order for us to do that, I believe that Liberians all around the world, we need to give up our comfort here and go back to Liberia. I believe that very strongly, you know, and that's why I have a plan to leave these shows, you know, as soon as I can. So Liberia, don't worry, I'm coming. I'm coming. I know I'm laughing, but I'm coming. You know, but no, you're right. You know, with our basketball development path, I think it has been, well, the walking, of course.
Yes.
You know, the walking, and some folks will say, "Oh, you know, don't blame it on the wall." You're right, folks. You know, we're not going to blame everything on the wall, because there's folks out there, you know, like the Rwandas, you know, and the Sierra Leone and other places that had crisis, but these folks have moved beyond, you know, their crisis, and have just blown into something else. You know, if you look at the Rwanda situation, I mean, this guy is just pushing the national youth and sports agenda way above and beyond.
Yeah.
You know, it's above and beyond the human imagination. If you look at, you know, where Rwanda was in basketball 20 years ago, I mean, it's like night and day, right? So for me, um, the whole idea is, yes, you know, and that's why we read a little bit about our past, because like I said, in order for you to know and actually get to where you need to go as a person making that journey, you have to know where you're coming from.
Yeah.
So that's why we're talking about the past, how basketball was developed in Liberia, how the culture, the sports, you know, the teachings were handed down from one group to another, and where we dropped the ball. All right. Yes. So we have to look at where we dropped the ball, and then hopefully as a people develop, all right, with you, Dr. Kennedy, myself, and the rest of the guys who are interested in moving our basketball to that next level, where we all sit down and say, look, this is where we're coming from. Since 1950, 1960, 1970, 1980, when we had the glory days, up to 1990, this is what the process looked like. Okay. Now we can take that process and mirror it against, because we got to start locally first, right? We got to mirror. We got to mirror it against the Ghana, the Sierra Leone, the Ivory Coast, the Guinea. We have to mirror it against where they came from and what they did to get to where they are. Because I strongly believe that there's a solution and there's an answer for anything you want in this world because it has happened somewhere before. And all you need to do is just go and find that answer, right? So we can't be lazy. We cannot be lazy. I know there's a lot going on in Liberia right now. I mean, you can't look past the challenges, but my old man will always tell me, my son, even if you're poor, there are certain things in your life that you can control, right? Like you can brush your teeth every morning, you can take a shower, there are certain things you can control, no matter how poor you are. So no matter how our country is challenged, I believe that there are certain things that we can control as an individual or as a country collectively. And that thing is coming together and sitting on a table, all stakeholders, and coming up with a plan. So Pittman, that leads us into the next phase of our discussion. Present day Liberian basketball. So from you looking from outside looking in, what do you see? Tell me, my brother, what do you see?
And I'll try to be positive. I see great opportunities for us, challenges and
well, don't try to be. Don't try. I need your honest. Don't water it down.
Well, we are in a deplorable state. Okay. And again, but I say it as we, not them.
Them, exactly.
We, which includes me and you.
Yeah.
Because when Liberia basketball succeeds or anything out of Liberia, guess what? We share the glory, right? And equally so, when it's not performing as well, guess what? We have to take the bumps and the bruises just equally so. We cannot disassociate ourselves, right? Yep. So let me just get that across because I want somebody to misconstrue and say, well, we are here trying to put things down. No. The state of basketball is deplorable. Let me just.
So, when was the last time you were in Liberia, Pittman?
I was in Liberia June of this year.
June of this year. And, so you have a better perspective than me.
I was there and I conducted a clinic at YMCA. So, I'm immersed with what's going on Liberia-wide. So when I give you analysis, it's honest, it's honest, And I just give you some examples real quick that just stand out, right? If you went to Liberia today to say, okay, nominee, say I want to bring 100 kids together just to go through an instructional camp, you don't have access to a facility. They're going to charge you so much money, you will be surprised. Something that you gave it for free. That's the first turn off. Instead of collaborating and say, hey, how can we get you access to a floor? You're not even making money. It's not like you're running a business, right? To say, hey, I'm charging these kids. No, I just want to bring these kids in to give them knowledge and even give them snacks along with it. They're going to charge you some astronomical cost for the facility. That's the first challenge, right? So how are we going to grow? But push that to the side. For us to develop basketball in Liberia, I can give you some solutions. First of all, you mentioned one of them already in those 5 things you talked about. What was the first one? Those 5 things you mentioned.
Infrastructure.
Infrastructure. We don't have the infrastructure to cultivate development. That's the first challenge, right? We don't have it. So collectively, we can get somewhere. The SKD, yeah, but you can't really play good international competition SKD. So it inhibits development as well, right? I'm not sure the dimensions of the court is regular size for.
Oh man. You know what? It's funny you brought that up because I was there in 2014, and I went to I don't want to cut you off, but I went to run with Barrow because I played with Barrow when I was in Nigeria. So I went to practice with Barrow, and my good old friend Actinicius, junior now.
Yeah.
So Actinicius and myself we went at the stadium, and then when I got there, I look at the floor. I said, no, this thing is not regulation, right?
Yeah.
Because basketball court from one end to the other is 94 feet.
Yeah, 94.
Yeah, that thing looked like it was like at least 101.
Yeah, it's not regulation.
Okay,
so
yeah. So go ahead.
That's the first piece, right? And again, I don't want to just sit there and kind of accumulate problems, but I want to get to where we can say, okay, fine, we got it. infrastructure is a challenge. Still, we can do some things because we still have, what did we learn on those outdoors courts, right? We still have them, so we can still do something. Like I know when I was talking to Melvin Hall, he said, just because you can't do everything does not mean you can do something or anything. You can do something.
Yeah, Dr. Hall. That man is wise beyond his years.
Yeah. So I say this, right? For us to develop, for us to get better, we must just develop grassroots basketball, period. That's where it starts, grassroots. I'm talking about you're in the States, right? And I know you got your young boys and they play, and you watch their development. Do a comparative analysis with that in Liberia. We must meet these kids early. Like I'm talking about 5-year, 6-year-old kids got to put a basketball in their hand, start giving them some kind of reps and things like that. Let them grow up with it, because that's what the kids over here are doing.
Yeah.
That's what the kids in those developed advanced basketball countries are doing. So we start to cultivate this thing developmental wise, grassroots level, nationwide. Not just in Monrovia, nationwide. So as you do that and you develop, which we will have to collaborate to do, guess what you're going to start to see? You're going to start to run into those special, unique species of human beings that will develop into your nation's pride someday. There's a lot of people. Think about we that played, right?
Yep.
It's a snapshot of what our population represents. There's some 6'6" guy somewhere in a village somewhere who never had an opportunity. And that body, that size, that grit, all of that stuff, whether it's basketball, football, it just went to extinction right there. So we have to find developmental opportunities nationwide to be able to develop young people.
Pippin, let me hold you there, and let me play the devil's advocate a little bit.
Go ahead.
So you're talking about the grassroots development program where you go, you start kids as early as 5, 6, 10 years old. And I know for us, because we live in the United States, the most convenient measuring rod that we have is our own, environment here, where we use the United States to measure stuff in Liberia. But I come from a place where I understand, the economic challenges in Liberia.
Yeah.
It's very difficult for people to make ends meet. So how do you reconcile that? How do you say, okay, I want to have a grassroots basketball development program, but here when I'm taking my kids to go play basketball, they got their shoes, they got their gears, I pay the fees, their stomach is full. In fact, we got snacks in the back of the car, so that when we get there and they're hungry, they can snack on something. Unlike Liberia, is a completely different, atmosphere. It's a completely different environment. So how do you reconcile that? Because those are some of the things that we have to take.
Don't worry, I got it. So before the journey of 1,000 miles start with one step, right? Before we get elaborated to where we are today with the shoes and the fees and everything, give me one gym in Riverside, one high school gym or middle school. Just give me one gym, and I will come in there on a Saturday and conduct free skills training or free youth league. Maybe we got 2 teams. Maybe we got 4 teams of novices. It's okay. We're giving them an opportunity to compete. We go to Sino. Just give me one gym in Sino. Give me one gym in Bomi. High school gyms. It's not the overhead, not that much. And we that say we love the game, there's a lot of us, not just me, it's not just you. And there's so many of us that play this game. Can we commit and collaborate to a unit that will be able to deploy and be able to conduct these developmental leagues, these Saturday leagues, morning basketball development, and then competition? And then it grows into what? A nationwide competition where you bring in the 8 or 16 finalists to Monrovia, sponsored by some of us, and they compete. And see how that grows into development.
Okay, let me pull you back in. Let me pull you back in. I'm talking about the economic challenges. So I'm talking about kids who probably don't have 3 meals a day, but you want them to play basketball. I'm talking about kids who their parents rely on them to go sell maybe a basket of mango, or a basket of plantain chips. I'm being real here, you know.
Yeah, I know.
So how do you um maybe little junior boy come to one session, right? And you notice that this kid is a serious athlete, like he has God-given abilities. But at home, he's challenged.
Yeah.
So my point is, how do you get past that?
So normally, and I know you know this. You probably know the answer the way you're asking me, but I know you just want me to say it, so you probably know it. Because I will answer the question. So do we just leave it as is and let him stay there? I know you won't agree to that, but
No,
yes,
okay, okay. Let me before you answer, let me give you my own perspective, right? Let me give you my own perspective on how I think we can get past that. I think
yeah,
it has to be a public, private collaboration.
exactly.
You know, meaning um, the government have to step in. All right, meaning the Ministry of Youth and Sports or the Liberian Basketball Federation,
Absolutely.
they have to draw up a plan
Yeah.
that says, okay, this is how we would develop basketball in Liberia. And then that plan has to go all the way down to the grassroots, like you said, where they're looking at individual communities. Because to be frank, running a basketball clinic in maybe a less economically challenged environment, like maybe Pinsville,
Yeah.
as compared to uh, how do you call it, West Point, or and not to talk down my West Point people, some
I
of
get
my
it.
best friends come from West Point, but we're just talking, trying to be real here. But if you look at those two communities, you find a little bit more, people who are well off that live in Pinsville as
Yeah.
compared to Newtown or West Point, right? So
Absolutely.
so if you're running basketball clinics or you're running basketball programs in those two locations or those two locales, the the plan has to be different. That's the point I'm trying to raise.
Well, I told you, you already know the answer. You just want to pull my string, but because I know you're not gonna sit down and say let it leave it as is. But you're right. I was giving you a high level response. It has to take collaboration with the government as well. That's why when I said provide a school at least, because here's the thing though, it's gonna be unique, but it takes it takes this innovation is about disruptiveness, being disruptive. So you got to disrupt the status quo. You got to convince that parent that's relying on that kid that no, there's a bigger vision here for them. It's a bigger opportunity here. You got to do that part. That's what we do. We got to do that part. The government got to provide. And in some cases, we got to do like they do over here. We may have to buy them the shoes. We may have to buy them the meals. We may have to do that just for their own sake, and we can. All right. So I know this for a fact, and you know that you're probably going to agree, but disagree if you feel if there was such an initiative going on right now and funding was a limb fact, would you not contribute to that?
Oh, definitely I will.
Exactly.
I
I
definitely,
would.
in
So
fact,
if we start to contribute to those types of things and those things are taking place, it's just going to grow as we, like you said, when you transition there, because now I can say, okay, nominee, you on the ground. Oh, Pet, you on the ground now. So now we are more, hands on because the folks, those coaches that's going to do that, they have to be incentivized as well. You know what I mean, right?
so speaking of that, I did a partnership, and I've always done it with Caleb, the Reverend Caleb
Yeah,
Doma.
absolutely.
Yeah, so Youth Connect. Caleb has the Youth Connect program, and he does this. I don't know whether he's still doing it. I know he's been on a standstill for a little bit, but he does this program with the youth, and they come in the morning. He feeds them to go through basketball skills development. He feeds them again, and then they go through some more development, and then he feeds them at the end of the day before they
Yeah.
leave to go on. So Caleb was telling me how he started one year, started with 20 kids, and in 3 days, it exponentially went from 20 to maybe 100 and something.
Yeah.
And he didn't have enough resources to take care of the kids. So some of the kids started to drop off, and you didn't have enough coaches. So a lot of challenges, you know. But so let me just remind folks. So folks, if you're just joining us, this is the All the Reps and Beyond podcast. Today, my guest is Dr. Pittman Kennedy. Pittman Kennedy is a basketball enthusiast like myself. We love the game of basketball, and we're talking about Liberian basketball, the past, the present, and then looking at the future. So let's get back. But programs like that,
yeah,
I think those are the kind of programs that's going to take us to the next level.
Yeah.
All right. So then the challenge now becomes, how do we support these programs? Now let's like you said, you know, when you're diving into innovation, you have to disrupt.
Yeah.
So let's make folks a little bit uncomfortable a little bit. Why is it that we have all these different organizations in Liberia, outside of Liberia, that's doing the exact same thing, but they don't find comfort in coming together, talking to one another, pulling resources together, in making better impact, especially when it comes to basketball development? Why do you think, and it be going above and beyond, why? How do you think we can come together, bring organizations, like-minded organizations together to drive this process forward? Do we need a national basketball convention where we can invite everybody to come and sit down? Do we need folks to pick up the phone and call one another? Or do we need to put our egos aside? What exactly do we need?
The last thing you just mentioned is the first thing, I would think. The egos. I think the trust factor and the egos what should go to rest, and then things will get done. And you know, and let me share some personal experience with you, right?
Go ahead, my brother.
I went down to the NBA Boys Top 100, which is that venue of developing the top players, right? Now, you don't see you see Greg Kite or those guys that played way back in the 70s. You don't see Ray Allen and those guys arguing about who was better and this and that, and they don't worry about that. What they worry about is we are going to work collectively because this is the future of our game right here.
Yeah.
So you may have been, even in this case, LeBron James' son is there, but guess what he's at? At that point in time, he's not over there over talking everybody because he's LeBron James, or Carmelo was there too with his son, because that's not their expertise in the development of the young people. So they let those guys that do what they do what they do, and the support from whatever the role may be. You understand what I mean? The reason why I feel like we don't come together is because, you know, everybody want to be the expert on everything, and you can't. You can't be the expert on everything. You can't. You have to be able to be a supportive person in one area, and then an expert when you need to be an expert. And I always say this: just because you play the game doesn't make you an expert at teaching the game. We see that in the NBA. We see that in everybody. There's some guys that just go out. Okay, this is my area. So I always tell people two things. People talk about politics. I tell people, everybody knows me, I'm not into politics. I don't want no political job. There's two areas that I can find myself working into in Liberia: basketball development and higher education, like the university. They're another topic for another day. I want to lead one of those universities and transform it, because I don't like the way the trajectory of our future is going from an educational standpoint. So those are my two areas that I'm passionate about. Everything else, they can have it. So when I tell you that, I'm serious about it. So case in point, I was in Liberia in June, and there was an impromptu camp. I called my guy at the YMCA, because again, access. You go ask for the invisible part, you got to pay thousands of dollars. I'm exaggerating a little bit before somebody copy it. It's hundreds of dollars for it. You go to the SKD, even worse than that, right? So I was able to call the YMCA. Claudia Thompson was like, hey, no problem, coach. You know, I worked with you before. Come on in. I will get some kids in. Last minute time. You know, we think it's about 30 kids. It's about 100 kids.
Yeah, I saw the pictures.
Boys and girls. So What was supposed to be a 2-hour event turned out to be a 2-day event.
Oh,
To
wow.
your point, you got to incentivize them. You got to give them snacks because I always feel like you said, the kids are going back home hungry. So at least feed them or give them transportation or something, right?
Yep.
So what comes after that? The YMCA sees that they are ecstatic. Mr. Allen said, hey, I love this. Let's collaborate. So when I go
Yeah.
back in December, we're signing an MOU with the YMCA. Hey, to
Nice.
be able to do some developmental training for the young people and all of that, right? And the only
Yep.
thing I asked for, there was one thing I asked for in the MOU, and it was access. Give me access. That's all I need to the gym. That's all. I'll
Nice.
do whatever else. And you're not paying me for nothing. I don't charge the kids for that stuff. I do it free, but give me access. In other words, if you don't have a scheduled program, give us the gym so we can bring kids in and do developmental work. But that's not a solution. That is not a solution to developing the game. The solution is this opportunity at YMCA needs to be available in Maryland County. It needs to be
Exactly.
available in Cape May County. You understand what I mean, right? So it takes a collective approach because as much as I think I can do development, I can't do it alone. You know that. I'm only one person. That's why God said you come in. God said you that have the like-mindedness and have the same agenda. We can work collaboratively and be able to solve the problem little by little, little by little. And that's kind of my approach to it.
All right. So let me ask you. All right. You know what? Let me give you my own perspective, and then I'll ask you a few questions here because I've been writing down some few notes. So I agree with you about the whole ego thing. I think people need to put their egos aside and recognize that there's a bigger picture, there's a bigger agenda that if all of us can focus on, then it lives. Because the way I think about it, my man, I'm always worried about legacy, right?
Yeah.
I'm always worried about legacy. I always give it. Now you're in the friends and supporters of Liberian basketball chat room, and I'm always giving the older guys hard time, right? I'm always giving them a hard time. So someday I know it's gonna be me, and some kid is gonna be giving me a hard time too as well.
Yeah.
So I always think about legacy, and the way I think about it is, okay, what am I doing now to effect some change? What am I doing now to help the development of the game in Liberia? Will my name be mentioned, once I've left the stage, that I aided some process or I contributed to some project? So that's the way I think about it. And that's why if you listen within basketball circles, whether it's in Monrovia, Liberia, wherever in the diaspora, trust me, you hear my name, somebody will call my name because I'm always involved. So I think we need to look beyond our personal egos. That's number one. Number two, we need to share information. We need to share information, and part of sharing information is if Pittman candidate like you're doing now, I know you're working on our YMCA stuff, right? So later on we can talk about it and I can ask you, hey Pittman, what do you need, man? So if 5 persons or 10 persons asking you about how they can help you, that increase your level of effectiveness, meaning you're getting more donation, you're getting more logistics, you're getting more tools that you can work with, right? You're getting a lot of support. Because if one organization like FSLB, for example, goes into Liberia and we do a project, I think that project will be less effective as compared to 5 organizations with similar platforms, similar operations coming together and doing that exact same project. So, for example, Great Ball Players USA can donate a scoreboard to the LBF, but if Great Ball Players is collaborating with FSLB and some other organization, it means that they can go above and beyond in not only donating the scoreboard, but also providing maybe some online learning platform that is paid for by the other organization that will enable whoever that's operating the scoreboard to be as effective and efficient when it comes to operating the scoreboard. So that's the way I look at it, right? So everyone is carrying the burden instead of one person. So one person carrying 100 pounds is different from 5 persons carrying 100 pounds. That's the way I see it. All right. So having said that, my brother, how do you think? What do you think? What is where? How do we find our way forward? How do we move forward? How do we collaborate and get the LBA talking? Because I mean, now we're talking about the present day structure of the game, right? So how do we get the LBA involved? Because for me personally, I feel like that is a challenge.
Yeah. So, normally we talk about this, and you and I chat every now and then offline. And I do that because, again, I told you I respect your objective, insightful, and your visionary view. And a lot of people don't have that. So I don't talk to too many people. Not just because I don't like to waste time. We are in an era of, accelerated changes. So if you can get things done, then don't be wasting time. So I think that we continue to engage and ask for dialogue. I think we all we can do at the end of the day and say, look, I reached out, and the right way too, I mean the appropriate way. These
Yeah.
people are leaders in their respective space, so we approach them appropriately. I'm for
Mutual
one will not advocate. Yeah, I will not advocate that because we are in the United States, we are better, or we are,
No, no,
our environment is different, but that does not mean that what they do does not bring value to the table. So we always got to kind of meet them in that professional realm. That's the first thing. And then be able to communicate and articulate what at least our purviews are. Those things. At the minimum, can we do that first? And that does not guarantee us a pathway. But without it, you can forget about a pathway, period, because that's their domain. So the other thing I would think that we add that will help is value. I think value means a lot.
what do you
You
mean
know,
by value?
value. So I would tell you, and again, I go back to June. I go to every time I go to Liberia, I do something with basketball. Every time.
Yeah,
But
I follow you. I follow you, so I see that
that's
a
an
lot.
indelible mark. So June was impromptu. They didn't plan it. Allowed me into time. Got 100 some kids. We get through with the clinic, right? And then the guy was like, "Hey, I need you to talk to somebody upstairs." And it's some guy. I don't even know his name anymore, but he's a big guy in the government in the sports area, whatever. I'm not gonna call no name here, but next thing I'm there, sweating up, sitting there talking to this guy about basketball. He's appreciating and all those types of things. So obviously, there's a value that was communicated to him, right?
Mm-hmm.
All that stuff means nothing to me. What matters to me? The kids, let them get better. That's what we worry about. All
Yeah.
that other stuff is, what I mean? But that's the value. When they can see the value that you bringing in or you guys bringing in, it will help. So here's another thing. I'm talking to one of the officials there again, Liberia Basketball Association. He said, hey, there was a guy from, I think, Ghana or Kenya or somewhere that did a camp over here last week and 200 kids or 100 kids, And that's the kind of stuff that bothers me.
From Ghana?
Somewhere, some other African country, it may be in Ghana or somewhere. So that's the stuff that infuriates me, because here's the thing. While we may be giving our resources, our knowledge, and our expertise to a point free, come on now. When you're going to compensate, then you don't call us.
No,
So we, even though you didn't beg me to do it for free, but you see that we are reaching forward and leaning forward and bringing value. And I said we are talking about all of us.
yeah.
Because when I go and give my sweat equity, it's not just me, it's a conglomeration of us who I represent. We're all here in the diaspora, right? So whether we get direct credit or not, but you don't reach out to us, but you're doing these things and you're giving this money out, but you're not supporting our effort. And we come in here repeatedly and helping develop the game. Trust me, there's nothing that other guy would give these kids that they will retain that we can give. And not only that, but how can we build this continuum of let's say we got 4 training sessions a year, normally. Can you go and lead one if we plan a schedule? Can you go and do that? Absolutely.
Asking me?
Yeah, I mean, but yeah, right? And then maybe I go and do another one, right? And we part of the same organization supporting basketball, so that way we don't miss a beat.
But that's the point that I was trying to make, right? Because if all these organizations are talking especially the organizations in the diaspora, it means that we can all sit down and look at the calendar from January to December and then plug and play, right? Plug and see where we want to make the most impact, how we want to make those impacts, whether it's through basketball clinics, whether it's through running maybe tournaments or whatever.
Yeah.
Um, and do it every year. Do it every year. So that's the reason why I'm a very strong advocate. I've been talking to the Liberian Basketball Association about having a calendar, an effective calendar. Because if you have a calendar, it means that you can lobby with your donors, you can lobby with folks who are going to help you, improve the game. So Pittman, let's go back to something that's really, really important. How do we get folks on the same table? How do we get folks on it? Because trust me, I've went and looked around, right? I looked at Nigeria, I looked at Guinea, I looked at a few countries, Senegal, I looked at a few countries that once upon a time, these countries were far behind in the game of basketball. But if you look at where they're at right now, and what it took for them to get there, I mean, I don't think it's impossible for us to do same or even go beyond what they're doing. But I think it starts with us getting together, sitting down, and then developing a plan.
So when you say us, okay, go ahead.
So when I say us, I mean stakeholders. So you, myself, other organizations who wish to develop the game, plus the folks in Liberia, because this is a journey, right? And
Yeah.
we're all going along on this journey together. So I strongly believe that if we all agree on a particular process or a particular plan, that in January, from January to March, we're focusing on this. From March till June, we're focusing on this. From June, you break everything apart throughout the year. And then when we get back to January, we're doing the exact same thing again and following that same process. Because, like I said, right, all the reps, you're doing the same thing over and over and over. And at some point, it becomes a well-oiled machine and everything is just flowing. So back again to you, my brother. How do we get folks on the table? How do we get how do we get black hole ballers on the table? How do we get FSLB on the table? How do we get the guys from Texas, the guys from Florida, everywhere there's some group supporting basketball. My guys from here, Minnesota, all for one for all. How do we get, in the
so
the inner circle group? How do we get all those guys?
I will say this before I answer you.
Go ahead.
It costs you more, and it's very dangerous to pretend than to commit. Okay, let me preference my response with that.
Okay, explain.
It costs you more to pretend than to commit, and you know that, and you probably know where I'm going.
I agree.
When it comes to this discussion, everybody has an input in the planning and the discussion. During the implementation, that number dwindles significantly.
Yeah. I got that experience.
Yeah, it's the pretending level. It's overflowed with people. Oh yes, we'll do this, we'll do that. Monday morning quarterbacking, all of that. And then let's get our sleeves up and get our hands dirty. And then all of a sudden you start to look for people. That's the overarching answer. Then I will say, okay, the second piece right here. You call Senegal and those other countries, right? And yes, I'm gonna give you the real response that you need. The Basketball Association is a microcosm. It's a snapshot of the larger population of Liberia, right? Would you agree?
I agree, 100%.
This development will never overarch this piece. In other words, the problem we're having here is the same problem we're having nationally in other areas. We are pretenders.
Oh,
We are pretenders.
hmm.
Until we can get individuals that are committers, that really mean what they say and say what they mean, and they come far and few in between. Until we can get there, we got an issue. No matter what, if I was a CEO, I would hire you to be my what you call it, the consultant for everything, because your ideas are great. And I have that share the same sentiments. But we need committers, not pretenders. So you can bring your organization, bring all the organizations together, and we can come up with whatever elaborate plan, brother. You know what has happened. I said this before, and you started with this. We talk about the legacy of being lost. That entire discussion that we have in our FSLB, everybody in there brings some vast knowledge. Have we put it to paper yet? Have one person taken the lead and say, let's start this little diary, or that will lead to some type of Hall of Fame or some type of historical thing? No, everything is being left in the chats, as far as I'm concerned.
No, I disagree. I disagree.
I stand to be corrected.
Yeah, I disagree strongly. Folks like myself, we've been working behind the scenes.
Okay.
We don't say everything in the chat room, because, like you said, there's when it's time to talk, a lot of people would talk, right? But when it's time to do the hard work, like formulating the ideas and putting them on paper and making sure that you can test those ideas and make them work in some space, a lot of people fall, on the wayside. And like every organization, there are folks like that. There are folks who do the heavy lifting, and there's also folks who just stay on the sidelines and cheer. So no, there's a lot of smart guys in there, and in the past we used to bring everything up front and talk about it and try to get people views and then try to push it, but it doesn't work that way.
Okay.
The folks who are committed to the process, you go behind the scenes, you engage, and you do the work. Like for me, if you hear me making a lot of noise, it means that I've tried to engage.
Yeah.
I have a plan, and the folks who's responsible for making that plan come to life, they're not engaging. All right, I'll give you a simple example, and I'm not trying to step on anybody's toes here. Liberia. All right. Now we have two major seasons, right?
Yeah.
We have the rainy season. We have the dry season. Now, the last time I was in Liberia was 2014. I've been away for a long time. But don't worry, folks.
You're going to be back.
I was going to be back.
On the trip.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. But why do you want to start the basketball season in the middle of the arena season? It doesn't make any sense, right? And that's something that we've been doing over and over and over. You get to the point where you're running the league and it's raining too much. So what do you do to get away from that? You want to put the league on a fixed calendar.
Yeah.
You put a league on a fixed calendar. It means that if the league is supposed to start October 1st every year, come hell or high water, the league is going to start October 1st.
Yeah.
It means that the governing body, the LBA, they need to sit down on a table, get all the teams involved, talk about training, talk about preparation, talk about infrastructure, talk about timing, talk about action, all that good stuff. Put it on a calendar, and then you can see it, right? So the Ministry of Youth and Sports can see it, so that they're not scheduling their events over the LBA games and all that kind of stuff. So those are some of the things that we've been working on behind the scenes, and we're trying to push. So those are some of the ideas.
Can I ask you a question real quick? I'm going to interrupt you just to ask you this question.
Go ahead.
Do FSLB have a representative on the LBA committee when they meet, whether it's monthly, quarterly, or whatever, of a member or listening member or person that?
So yes and no.
Okay.
So yes and no. Yes, because kudos to him, Mr. Ibrahim Samukar. Mr. Samukar has been really open and receptive to some of the ideas that we've been pushing. So he listens a lot. He's very engaged. He will text you, out of the blue, trying to bounce some ideas off you. So
Yeah.
yes, he's listening, and I don't know if those type of engagement translates to at the official level, meaning that whatever ideas we're giving him, is he presenting that to the entire leadership of the LBA so that they can try to effect some of those changes? I don't know that for sure, but yes, we have the ears of Mr. Samuka.
But that's not constitute a formal representation.
I agree. I
Because,
agree. That's why I said yes
you,
and
a Samaka, that means you could hit him up, I could hit him up. But I'm talking about a person that will be, let's say LBA have a meeting every other month. There has to be well, I don't know. I'm asking the question if there's an FSLB person there that would take information and bring information back outside of Mr. Samaka.
no. Okay. I just got a text. So we there's going to be a proposal, or there's a proposal on the table right now for members from the diaspora and from other organizations that support basketball in Liberia to have a representation on the LBA, Liberian Basketball Association board.